it's a triple play. New episodes, I couldn't wait. Yeah, open your mind at the first gate. Press play, no need to debate. AoA, check me out. Look, clocked in, you can catch the hype. Golden Dawn, how we follow the light. Anime like life, married to it, my wife.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages? Welcome back to the AoA show. I am your host, as always, Ian, along with my boys, Isaiah.
Yo, yo, yo.
And Gavin.
What's going on?
And today we're going to hit you with another tier list because due to popular request and because we just love to freaking do these, we're doing it, right? That's it, plain and simple. So obviously we didn't, we wanted to think of another topic this time. And by the way, for anyone watching or listening right now to this, if you have any suggestions for tier lists, please let us know because this is such a great segment, I guess you could call it, to do because it's just a wellspring of all different types
easy
of shit.
Content.
Yeah, it's super easy to do. They're super fun and they seem to be well received. So like, why not just have the best of all worlds there, right? So this one we're going to be doing is going to be over who is the smartest out of the anime characters that we have seen. Now, number one, there are different types of intelligence. I would like to put that across just in general, right? There's emotional intelligence, there's academic intelligence, like things along that. There's athletic intelligence, etc. We're kind of just doing a culmination of everything, right? Like intelligence based off strategy, their planning, what they know, just raw data, the whole nine. It's a really ambiguous and arbitrary thing, as these tier lists are. That's what makes it fun. We get into arguments. It's the whole thing, right? You guys love it. So that's going to be the topic of today. We only have 8 characters this time. Gavin, if you don't mind scrolling down a bit, can you?
Ooh, baby.
Cool. We have 8 characters this time around. Reason being is because we take too damn long when we do. I'm going to be honest. When we have more than this, I think we cut it down to what, 10 or 12 last time.
For Tower of God one.
For Tower of God one.
Like 2 hours.
And like they're fun, don't get me wrong, but like they take a long damn time. So we've been incrementally cutting them down each time to see how far we get with it and how long it is. So this time we're at 8 characters, and we're also only using characters save Senku, even though we know enough about him. But everyone else is someone that at least 2 of us have seen in action, I would say.
I think the only person here that all 3 of us don't know is Edward Elric, because Gavin hasn't finished all of Full Metal.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But everybody else should be somebody that everybody here knows enough about.
And Senku, you could watch the first episode of Dr. Stone. You already know.
Exactly.
It's like whatever.
Like
so
4
at least
episodes,
the thing that we're going to be arguing about of him doesn't change.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair enough.
So,
and before anybody says anything, I definitely wanted to put Lelouch on here, but these niggas won't get wise and watch Code Geass so that we can put him on.
I do want to watch Code Geass.
I know every nigga on a list about smart people.
Bro,
is
you
gonna
make it so
flame
easy.
us.
You're like, yeah, you need to watch this. You need to watch this. You
No,
need to
no,
watch
no.
this. And I'm like,
I'm
bro,
just-
I can't even
I'm
watch
just-
porn. What do you
No,
want
no,
me to do with it? Like, what do you want me to do anymore?
First off,
Like,
Gavin,
come on.
if you don't have the time to watch porn, you need to fix your schedule because you're doing something wrong. Second, I just need to cover my goddamn tracks because I know the niggas out there who have watched it are going to flame me up the asshole about not including Luge on here. So I just need to set
Why
the
did you
record.
include Luge?
That
You're a
because
failure.
Isaiah,
did I not quite
You're supposed
literally
to be on my
just
side.
Oh, yeah,
say-
idiot.
Yeah, you're fucking idiot.
All right, I'm done.
Now, to be fair, there are plenty, as many of these tier lists goes, and especially since we're cutting down the characters yet again, and they have to meet the criteria of all of us having seen it. Obviously, there are going to be plenty of characters that are worthy of this list, maybe even smarter than some of the people that we have up here that will not be mentioned in today's video just because they haven't met the parameters that we've set for ourselves. So obviously, those are honorable mentions, and once we get around to them, maybe we could revisit some of these tier lists again and then incorporate some other characters into it. Maybe our perspectives will change, but that'll just come with time. As always, we're using, tierlistmaker.com. We will post the tier list.
only website.
Yeah, I
that
think
does
it's like the
this.
only one. We'll post it in the description.
Yeah.
And you could find it. Do we post it on anywhere else, Twitter or anything like that, or description?
We'll figure
I
it
mean, we
out.
could. I don't think
Okay.
we have, but we
Yeah,
could.
yeah. We can post it on our Twitter and then in the description down below. So if you guys want to refer to it or make your own let us know. As always, if you guys enjoy the content today, make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, hitting the notification bell, sharing with your friends, and commenting your thoughts down below. What did you think of our list? What characters do you think deserve to be up there? How would you rank them, etc.? If you're listening to audio only right now on your favorite podcast platforms, make sure you guys are throwing a follow on there. And if you don't have us on the socials yet, I don't know what you're doing. That's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can follow us there to keep up to date with the latest and greatest, take place in polls, etc. And if you want to take that support to the final and utmost level, you can hit us up on Patreon. That's patreon.com/AoA Show. Or as always, all these links are in the description down below. So, I guess should we do the whole token thing again, where it's like we each get a thing, right? Okay, yeah. So as per tradition, if you guys are new here, we have a little like house rule where when we're doing this, we each get one token to put a character wherever we want to put them. So generally speaking, that would be like our S tier because those are like you got to meet some pretty big requirements for that. And if you don't use it at the end of it, when all's said and done, we have them all put in their tiers. We'll go through each of us who haven't used a token yet, and we could take one character, provided somebody else didn't use a token on that character, and move them to a spot where we think that they are deservedly put. So.
Yep.
Anyway, so let's hop right into it.
Do it.
So first we have. Oh, by the way, hang on. We have
Tiers.
to go through our tiers as well. Sorry, because we always, we put a lot of time into these names.
That literally, you laugh. That literally took me all night. So, fucking go through it.
So being that we only have 8 characters, we only have 4 tiers this time. We figured we didn't want to have a bunch of empty tier spots. So with that being said, we have S, A, B, C. S tier is going to be big brain moves only. Only big brain moves, only big brain move people are allowed up there. Okay, that's number 1. At A tier, we have so smart it's stupid. Because there's just some characters that it is really just stupid how smart they are.
It's stupid.
It's
Not
stupid. Yeah, it's so smart, it's
yeah.
stupid. Yeah, that's what it is for A. Coming in at B, we have street smart. So someone, knows their way around the block, but, isn't on the big brain move level. And then at C tier, we have, what does IQ mean? I don't even know. I don't even know what IQ means. But anyway.
It means ice cream.
And again. Yeah, exactly. See? So
Big brain moves over here.
Ice cream. Yeah, ice cream. So
Wait, can you say that again?
ice cream.
I adore that. That's amazing. That is the best thing I've ever heard.
Oh, man. And also, sorry. Last disclaimer here. Although some of these categories make it seem as if the character we're putting there is stupid, that's not the case at all. Obviously, any of these characters, in order for them to make it to the tier list itself, we had to rank them as like some of the top 8 that we
just
know.
treat it as S, A, B, C.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't mean they're stupid by any means, So just
if we went on this list and had 26, we'd still be like probably 20 below that. So
yeah,
they're still smart.
Exactly. Anyway, so let's hop right into it. So number 1, we have Senku. All right, there is no argument here.
Yeah, bro, he's fucking street smart.
There literally is no argument here. In my opinion, he literally belongs in S tier, big brain moves.
I don't think he's capable of making a move that's not big brain.
Literally. Now, to be fair, we should probably explain briefly as to why we think he deserves that spot up there. Now, full disclaimer, I have not watched all of Dr. Stone. It's an all right show, but it's not something that was at the top of my list. So I've watched a couple of the initial episodes where, again, you get to see pretty damn well how smart Senku is. So I think I could talk to this. And Gavin, you're in the same boat as me, right?
I've watched like 5 episodes.
Yeah, this is one where Isaiah has watched it, if I'm not mistaken. To completion so far. So Isaiah has the most knowledge, but I'd say, at least in my boat, that I'm pretty much in full agreement with him anyway.
Yeah.
But Isaiah, why don't you give us a brief little synopsis on why we think Senku deserves S tier?
This nigga is just the smartest. Like, I almost hesitate to call him human. That I've ever seen in anime. Where a lot of the people that we're gonna get to on this list, sort of use their intelligence in whatever cone that it's specified in to their advantage, and sort of end up through the course of the show adapting to compensate for whatever area or strength in intellect they're weak in. This nigga literally has no weakness in intellect. He's quite literally unmatched. All the conflict in Dr. Stone, none of it is from Senku. Like, literally nothing. There is no problem that comes up that he does not and cannot tackle with some sort of plan or scientific method or implication or whatever that he uses. Like, it's a lot of it is, like, to be honest, in the show is from like the people around him, right? And is sort of like a literal conflict of like opposing ideologies, and because obviously because he's so intellectually focused, he's more of like the kingdom of science and like, you know what I mean, all like the planning and theories and stuff. Where you have I forget his name, Soka, I think, the guy who runs like basically his enemy side, the opposite side. So he's more about like sort of the raw, like the, you know, caveman, like sort of like primal like era inside of things. So that's really like where the conflict comes from, which I find interesting. One, because I think while naturally it would lead you to assume that Senku doesn't have any sort of inherent character flaws, right? It's like this guy literally just goes through the whole season, like quite literally solving everybody's problem. Every time somebody has a problem, he's like, "Oh, we just got to do this, and this," and it's not from a standpoint of like, "Oh, you're having a problem with this." Like, if you do this, like you'll probably be able to apply this better or do like no. This nigga literally uses the scientific method to like reinvent like the progression that humanity spent 150 like something, you know, odd years doing, like trying and failing at. He just has it like perfectly printed and replicated into brain, ready to go at a moment's notice. He literally reinvents electricity in like the Stone Age.
Jokes.
There
on
doesn't
him.
need to be anything else like in an argument. I like he is literally. It is also crazy to me though that like while this isn't really part of the argument, but it's just a side note. Senku's character, because he's somebody who's so intellectually focused, is naturally actually pretty selfishly driven, right? He's not like as a protagonist, he's not somebody who's like, I mean, like he wants to sort of revitalize humanity and stuff, but it's like not 100% because he's like, I'm going to save everybody because that's the right thing to do. He literally like, you know, part of his motto, his like Naruto believe it thing, if you will, is that he wants to save the world with science so that he can prove that it can be done. He literally wants to do this so that he can flex that he was the one who single-handedly obviously not actually single-handedly, like he needs everybody's help to do it, but like with his mind at the forefront, he will single-handedly save humanity.
Yeah. Yeah,
like that,
you have to be incredibly like on another level of intelligence to essentially single-handedly be the sole reason why humanity is able to survive.
He's also, I'm not sure, could you scroll down a little bit, Gavin? He's also the only person on this list who can claim that they're the smartest person in the world, and I wouldn't even question, like I wouldn't even think that they're just trying to flex on me, you know, or like that they're just being cocky. Because there's some people on here who are pretty smart, but are also kind of equally as cocky and a little bit arrogant and like ready to sort of flaunt that shit at a moment's notice. And it's like, all right, sit back down, sir. But it's like Senku, if Senku walked in and was like, dog, it's like, all right, you got the floor, nigga. Like he's literally on another, like literally, this is like if we were doing the OP tier list. With Saitama, you know, he's just literally not even in the class of the normies down here.
For sure. I guess one argument that somebody might have, and this is coming from someone who hasn't seen the show to fruition, so I could be wrong here, but do you honestly think that Senku, and you know, based off some of the characters here and just in general, besides academic and scientific intelligence, carries the same amount of latent ability in something like emotional intelligence? Like, can he read people well in their emotions? Does he have good conversation? Is he somebody that other characters can come to within the show and like display a problem that isn't like solved with mathematics? That's like, let me sit you down. Let's like talk about your feelings, like things like that.
I think so. It's weird on two fronts. One, because I think he's good at reading people and identifying problems, whether they're based in an intellectual sense or an emotional sense. However, solving them is not, it's not that he's not capable of doing it, but I think because he's such a logistical individual that he always comes at things from a logistical standpoint. Okay. Meaning he might understand what you're feeling and he might understand what you want to hear, but he might not tell it to you in the most emotionally comforting way. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. He's not good with bedside talk. He just gives it to you straight.
Yeah. Which I don't inherently think is bad, because I think that's better than not solving the problem or not being able to identify it at all. Yeah. But also in this list specifically, I don't really see it as a detractor, right? Because we are kind of just talking about intelligence, and while emotional intelligence is a form of intelligence, I think in this list, I don't think that would be a serious enough detractor to weigh him down any.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, and I would say even if he was downright terrible at it, I think this is one character. Although some of my decisions on this tier list will probably be more of like a, culmination of all types of intelligence that I can gather from them. But I think this is one character that, regardless of like what his other intelligence is at, is exempt just because his actual academic and scientific intelligence is so far beyond anyone that I've ever seen that it makes up for any deficiencies that he has in anything else. Like, it's ridiculous. The guy just literally will invent anything on the fly with like rocks at his disposal, which is absolutely ridiculous. Like, there is no one on planet Earth that has ever achieved the amount of intelligence that he has, and even in the fictional world that I've ever seen. So I think
Google. Gotcha.
I don't even believe it.
I'm fucking with you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but I literally just still don't even believe that. I think if Senku created Google, then sure. Like,
I
he
think
created
he might
the
in the show.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding, dog. They're gonna need technology.
Yahoo Japan. He's like, sweet, all the servers are up, and it's like him in like a fucking internet cafe.
Dude, I wouldn't even doubt it. He is on
He
a
literally
new level.
at the end of season 1, where we're at. By the way, season 2, Stone Wars, get hype. He literally reinvents like the cell phone and like cellular signals and like.
Okay.
I
remember why I stopped watching the show.
he is so smart.
No, but it's fucking dope, bro.
It is ridiculous how smart he is, like to the point where it's just like plain. I don't know.
But
It's
either way,
crazy.
let's
It's
go to the
crazy.
next gorgeous fucking man.
Yes, let's go to the next one, and that would be probably a lot of
I'm gonna
people's
keep it
fan
real with
favorites
you guys.
here.
He's going in S, whether I have to use a token or we got to talk about it. Because that's my boyfriend, and I refuse to not put him in S.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm completely with Isaiah.
All right, cool.
Well,
no, I'm kidding.
Okay, if you're using a
I'm
token,
using a token regardless.
okay,
so.
I think we should still talk about where we would have him like on a non-biased thing,
fine.
and
Really?
then if you
'Cause I don't
want
think
to,
we have
and then
to.
if you want to put him,
I'm
in
kidding.
there.
I was like, really? It sounds like we have to.
Boy, Gavin.
On a real level, though, I think at face value, based off the characters that we have, can you scroll back down to the characters that we have?
Yes. Face value, I think I would actually throw him personally, either in Street Smart. Wait, actually, let me look at the list too.
And by the way, I want to clarify something, Isaiah. Just forgot. This is not. I don't want to use Levi for this one. Let's use Armin.
This is
or
the
Arrow.
third time
It
since
is.
this list came up that this nigga's like, you know what? I don't like that. Fuck it. We're
And
changing
it's the
it.
same thing that I said last night, and it was never changed. So that's why I thought you would have changed it by now. But
I was like, I don't want it.
I'm just saying, Levi just does not even rank with an Attack on Titan of
All
the
right,
smuttest people.
What the fuck ever? Put, if you want to put Armin, whoever the fuck.
Is conflating the smartest characters. They're just guys he wants to fuck.
Yeah, like if we're
right,
talking
first
about
off-
looks, then maybe Levi deserves a spot up here. But like brains,
First off, that's fair. I did just legitimately. Oh no, not that thing. That just goes exclusively to Kun. The rest of this list, I did genuinely forget. I was going to swap out Levi.
No, I'm just busting balls. We were up late last night working on this. So, do we want to replace him? Just so people know for when we get to him, do we want to replace him as Armin or Erwin?
Arwen, because Erwin was stupid and died. So
You're.
I'm kidding. I literally just said that to piss Ian off because I know.
I love that you did that for that reason, and that I knew it was going to work instantly.
Ian loves.
There's not even a second thought
so much that
and
I
like,
just had
would
to
this
say
upset Ian? Yeah, it would.
I'm going to fight you.
If I know I can just say it to just get that instant flicker in
my
his eye.
God.
It's so
Yeah.
weird.
And I'm going
that
to
was-
kill you until you're dead. Today.
Oh, that was worth everything else
Fucker.
today.
All right, so Erwin will be the fucking character. Now, you know what? We'll put Armin, being that he's, I would assume, you know what? I could be wrong. I'm an Erwin fan, but I would assume Armin, because he has more room to grow. Spoilers, within the show based off current events that have happened.
He probably will end up.
Yeah,
smarter,
like
much
at the
smarter
exactly
than,
at the
and
end
you
of
can
the
tie
road.
that
So-
into Cocoon because I feel like
that's fair. That's fair. So we'll use Armin for Levi for anyone who's watching video version right now and you see Levi there and you're confused. Pretend it's Armin. That's what we're going to be talking about. Anyway, getting back to the character at hand, which is Kun, and then based off these characters on the bottom, I personally on a can you scroll down one more time? No, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to compare.
you're good.
I would personally put him in somewhere along the lines of Street Smart. I'm going to be
That's what
honest.
I was
If we're talking about the characters as in relation to this list,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason being is because now this might be slightly skewed because Tower of God has so many characters in it, like so many. Like you were looking up the smartest people or whatever, and like they had Naruto, right? And they had like 5 characters within Naruto, and we're like, okay, we got to limit it. And Tower of God kind of suffers from the same thing. There's just so many characters that it's inevitable that you're going to have plenty of smart people within it.
Right.
And as of right now, where we are now, we are just at the time of recording, we are just right at the beginning of season 2. So we only know Kun within the confines of season 1.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, like, he could be way more intelligent than we're giving him credit for as of right now.
Mm-hmm.
But as it stands in our minds at the moment, there are characters within the show that have been able to show, in my opinion, that they are a level above Kun.
Like,
although not many of them at all,
Yeah.
which is saying something. But I think someone in particular would be like Han Sung, would be the number one that comes to me as like someone who's just like, he's got Kun figured out.
Yeah.
And I think for that reason, it kind of gives me a bias because I'm thinking about him within the confines of his own world. Whereas like you have like a Senku, and it's like no one is even fucking thinking of getting close to that guy on that level. Like it's not even a thought in your mind. Don't even try it, dude. Or like some of the other characters on this list, I would say someone like maybe even someone like Armin, or like Light or something like that. You know what I mean? There's only like a very few people within their respective series and story that can
like
even
challenge them
even challenge them.
Yeah.
And Kun at the moment is able to be challenged quite a bit. Now I will say though, he's incredibly intelligent, like stupidly intelligent, right? Like his strategies and plans, he's able to trick rankers.
Yep.
He's
like for his age. I think that's something that's like a stipulation that people don't realize. He might not be the smartest, but I mean, actually, I can't even say that because technically he's probably with my luck, he's like 800 years old. But like relative to the world, he's young. All right, I guess I can't. I'm shooting myself in the foot here.
Yeah,
continue.
Yeah. No. Well, that's basically what I was saying. Is he has a lot of room to grow. I think right now he's not fully there, and I would like to say that he's very intelligent.
I just hear a lot of disrespect on my man, and I could tell you he's not gonna be happy when we talk about this later. And I tell him that you guys fucking think he's stupid as shit. So yeah, that's it. We'll leave him in S, and
yeah, I would say though, like, okay, so I would think, so in the terms of the story right now, this is kind of my biggest thing, right? I don't think Kun, as compared to some of these other characters, is smart enough on a level where he is literally guiding the course of where this story is going on a macro level. I think that Kun has a lot of like micro level things where he's like able to interweave his what he wants to get done through like I don't think seducing is the right word, but like manipulating certain people to like have the test turn out in his favor, or like making the conversation with Laro Rowe.
In earnest, I'd probably put him in somewhere like So Smart It's Stupid. I don't think he's like the smartest person. But I don't know. I do feel like yeah, we've seen a lot of smart people in Tower of the God, but I do think there's something to be said for the fact that like if Kun is on the table, right, of discussion in versus of people of intellect, the fact that he's reached a level of intellect higher than average at his age in comparison to people that are older than him, in itself is like a valid argument, at least to put him higher than like street smart. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, no, because that would save me
there's
from
no telling that I'm forgetting what's the administrator's name?
Han Sung.
That Han Sung was a Kun. Right, he could have taken his whole life to whatever age he is now to get as smart as he. Like he could have learned through experience to where Kun
that's fair.
Clearly has an actual talent for intellect.
No, it's fair. I would think though, because of what we know right now, even if he has a bunch of latent ability to become smarter, what we know of him right now is what we know of him. Yeah. So like if we're putting him in the confines of what we know here, regardless of their age, I think he's there but for my initial point, I don't think his intelligence is not on a level where it sways the entire course of the story on a macro level. I think there's a lot of things right now within Tower of God, at least where we are, that are much bigger than Kun. And I think Kun, on an individual level or with the people that are surrounding him, is able to manipulate things to the way he sees fit and use strategy to achieve his means. But if it really comes down to someone like a Han Sung or in general being like, nope, your shit stops right here, they're going to fucking just like stuff him and put him right down. And I don't think he's on a level where it's like, it's not like Jihad is like noticing him right now, or like he could because he's part of the 10 Grey families. But you get what I'm saying, right? Where it's like, I need to formulate this whole story now around the intelligence of Kun because it's like almost too dangerous. Whereas like a Senku is literally rebuilding planet Earth, and someone like, I don't know, maybe like a light Yagami here, right? Where it's like the entire course of events circles around, you know what I mean, the fact that he's able to utilize it. But that's my argument for it. I don't know, you know.
No, I agree. It's,
you guys agree or not?
You know, it's hard because I feel like a lot of it is latent. You fucker. A lot of it for me is latent, like you said. It's that, you know, he's smart. You know, he's only going to get smarter and be a force to be. He is going to be a force to be reckoned with. But at the moment, right now, as we see at the beginning of season 2, it's quite literally he hasn't reached that expectation yet in our eyes, which is to be granted. We haven't even we barely scratched the surface of the show. We're not even a fourth of the way done with it, or the manhwa. So I feel like eventually he's going to deserve that title of So Smart It's Stupid, or even Big Brain Moves Only. But at this point that we know him, I would put him in probably Street Smart. But either way, he's in Big Brain.
Well, with that being said, are you using your token on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I knew he wasn't pulling back that token. You didn't even have to
fucking said it at the beginning. I don't know why we're still talking about that.
All right.
Next.
Anyway, so our next character is Edward Elric from Full Metal Alchemist. Now, Gavin, you have not seen Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood or the original to its fruition right now.
Fuck, we already broke the rule.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. So Isaiah,
shame him.
Yeah, you're right. Shame on you.
I know, it's like a classic.
You should watch the show. It's pretty incredible. It's like one of the top 10 for sure. But anyway, so Isaiah and I have, you know, a little more on this because we've seen the show in its entirety. Just looking at this at a base level here, I would probably put, and again, I have to compare him to some of the other characters here because
like
scroll down
move it back and forth.
I don't want to immediately
I'm not gonna
just
lie.
throw him.
Out of everybody on this list, if we're just comparing him to, because like that's always where I struggle with these things, is I immediately always start comparing them to people in their show.
Yes.
When it really is against,
Yes.
I mean, that's what we're doing. It's literally against the other people in this list. And of the people in this list, I actually kind of think he's the stupidest one here.
Really?
I think so.
Really? I didn't expect that. Why do you think that?
Because he's stupid. No. I think, well, hold on. I don't know
him here for now.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily saying the stupidest one here deserves the lowest rank. I just think, again, of the people intellectually on this list, I think he's the lowest. So mainly, I think it's like because, so sort of in the vein of the argument that you guys were making for Kun, where a lot of these people on this list, excluding people like Kun and Norman, have experience on him. They know so many more things just through knowledge and through like having lived a longer lifespan than him, that there's quite simply things he doesn't know because he hasn't like experienced them. And if we're talking obviously about this version of Edward, not like end of FMA, you know, when he's older, I think like there's a level, you know, if that's what we're using, which you guys were saying for Kun, if we're using experience as a way to judge intelligence, like there's a level of inexperience he has that definitely I think drags him down in comparison. I mean, like literally again, except for Norman, everybody on here is like at least like what 18. Well, I keep forgetting that that's not Levi, that's Armin, so he's actually pretty young. But all the older contestants on this list are like straight up adult men. You know what I mean? So it's like they have, in whether their intellect comes from or stems from a like talent potential or quite literally just having lived and learned through things, they have that much more over him. I think his like obviously like he's on the list for a reason. I think like his intellect strategically and just through straight things like alchemy is quite unmatched again in the show. But I would make an argument that like somebody like, can you scroll up again? Who was the
Senku and Kun?
Well, Senku doesn't count because he's God. Yeah, I don't know. I just think he's at a disadvantage when it comes to like being able to sort of use the whole circle, the full well-roundedness of what intelligence is.
Really? I disagree. I don't think that he is like top tier, but I definitely think he has legs to stand on if we're comparing him to someone like Norman, right? I think he's more intelligent in that, right? I think number one, the show puts forward this idea that alchemy at some level does require intelligence, right? In order to master the arts of it, in order to use it efficiently. And he is literally the best at it, like the best. And so in the, I mean, I know we're comparing him to other characters, but like even within the confines of his world and other characters, it's like he's on a level of study that surpasses like literally everyone, and even at a young age. And we do see him grow older within the show, a bit, not much older because, you know, the show is over X amount of time, but like the amount of feats that he has had have been like pretty damn incredible, I will say. Number two, I actually think that he has a bit of emotional intelligence, and he has this like way of being able to make people understand. Like within the show, he's able to almost like garner this like respect and this passion for people that didn't necessarily agree with him from the start, and is able to kind of sway people in a way that isn't just through like this like bash you over the head type style. And like a lot of times, especially if he's restricted on alchemy because his stature is very small, he has to use his actual intelligence in order to make things sway in his way. Now, I think it could be tougher because there's like not this like grandiose strategy that comes along with his character, and it's really not touted like that he is supposed to be like the, progenitor of all ideas, where we have like, some of the other characters on this list. But I do think that a lot of the show, if, like argument, like 99% of it revolves around him and his brother and how he's able to use his intelligence, with his alchemy in order to get himself out of certain situations and progress the plot against forces that, to be honest, are like on almost a supernatural level. Like, you know what I mean? Like his knowledge of the human anatomy and like everything that goes along with it is like incredibly extensive.
So first off, I just want to correct myself because I said that I was literally saying that if we're talking about experience in intelligence, that's a factor. He wouldn't actually be the lowest person on this list because we're talking about people like Armin or maybe even Norman, who are definitively younger than him. Mm-hmm. So he would definitely be above them. But my points, I think most of it still stands in at least what I was saying, where like he definitely has like and actually sort of in the reign of Kun, like very vital weaknesses of his that you can attack that sort of negate and deflect however intelligent he is, especially in things like combat. Like he's very quick to like attack his temper, and he's very quick to like heat over and sort of like lose his head in a fight. I would actually even argue that in the realm of just straight alchemy, that his brother is definitely the one who's much more knowledgeable of just straight like the laws and rules of how to apply alchemy. Like Edward definitely knows the most as far as like adaptivity in like within the confines of the show. But again, if we're talking straight knowledge, I would actually say his brother has a leg up on him in that field. But yeah, I think my argument just still always kind of comes back to like he's like, because I try to think, so it's tough with some of these guys because I'm pretty sure some of them, like your Lights and Norman, you have to judge straight on intellect, right? Because the rest of these guys are also fighters. They're also combatants. So there's a level of strategic intelligence that you can apply to like their characters and how to judge them. I think if I was comparing again, just with the people on this list, like someone like Edward to someone like Askeladd would totally have this guy beat because Askeladd's level of strategic intelligence and emotional intelligence far outweighs someone like Edward's. Like quite simply, I think Edward's much more level-headed than someone like Thorfinn, but I think he would be able to play him much in the same way because Askeladd understands how to use people's emotions in a fight, much like where Edward, where a lot of the moments you were talking about, where like he'll fight somebody and sort of come to this ideological standpoint and like coerce them through the fight of like how to, about thinking differently, doesn't come from him beating them in actual intellect. It comes from the fight, which like the fight, right, is essentially a metaphor of their ideas clashing. But again, that's different than Askeladd, who might have somebody already beat from the gate out of intellect and then thus has to prove himself in a fight. They're like two different things, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I would probably put him in street smart because, again, I think you said it, like, within the confines of the fight, like, alchemy is almost, not fully, but almost a direct representation of how much mastery you have over it and your experience and intelligence in regards to it. So even though it's like a flashier thing and it's like not so much strategy involved, it's almost like a metaphor for your intelligence in the subject itself. So it's like it's just shown in a very different light. But I definitely see him as lower than some of the people on this list, but I definitely also see him higher than like one or two, which we'll get into. Maybe one. But I think street smart would be where it is currently.
Yeah,
I could see an argument for both, but we'll go there, and then maybe we'll come back to that. Street smart's fine.
So what does like
Gavin just loves fucking people.
Gavin.
Who cool. No, it's
Anyway,
Russian roulette.
so that's Edward Elric from Full Metal Alchemist.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, moving down the list here, we have Askeladd from Vinland Saga. First of all, hashtag Askeladd got robbed. From the on the
even
Crunchyroll
get
Awards for the best
started, dude.
antagonist. Yeah, he actually lost to Isabella from Promised Neverland, who was great, but like Askeladd is just on another level.
not even close.
Like,
not even close.
Yeah, not even close. Like Askeladd is fucking incredible.
Can we just get like a moment of silence for Askeladd?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyway, thank you. So yeah, Askeladd. So I would, at face value, I keep on saying this for a lot of these, and then we have the argument from
At
there.
face value.
At face value, on the surface level, sips tea. But I would probably put him somewhere along the lines of so smart it's stupid, and I could almost see the argument for S tier. But being that we have Senku there, it makes it really hard to put anyone next to him.
Yeah, I think
I'm not gonna lie.
I think it would behoove us actually to have 5 tiers, but literally a tier just for like a one above
Yeah,
S
I didn't even
just
think
for
of that.
Senku.
Yeah.
Because like putting him in there now, it's like only token niggas are gonna ever get up there. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
right.
Because now you're gonna forcefully compare everybody to Senku, which you just
Is it
can't
easy
do.
to make a row? Because I can do that real fast.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even worry about it though. Like,
Animation? Okay.
yeah, because because like on an honest level, all right, you can if you want. It's all
yeah.
good. Just go for it.
Go ahead and edit it.
We'll take a brief intermission.
Oh, I just hit button. Do I hit this or this?
Hit. Yeah. See, add a row below, or add a row above. My bad. Yep. Perfect. No, not 2.
It doesn't go away. What kind of? Delete row. All right, hold on. I got this.
Token child. You should do like Prodigy child. I guess Prodigy. Doesn't Prodigy? Why do we have stupid niggas making a list about smart people?
Prodigy? Is that how you spell it? Am I right?
Prodigy.
the
That's
chats?
definitely not right.
No, Prodigy.
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 Can
Ian, you have your phone.
Can you just? Oh,
I'm like inferring you to look it up.
yeah, you got it.
Oh really?
Ooh, smartest man in the chat.
It's Prodigy.
Why does that look wrong?
All right, what is it? Prodigy what? Just Prodigy?
Just Prodigy. That's fine.
Prodigy.
Yeah, because now it's like, okay, S tier are like, because I honestly, well, when we get into, I do think Askeladd deserves S, like just straight up.
Yeah.
The man literally like planned his death. All right,
Let's talk about this shit.
Whatever.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. So I can see the argument for S. So we've established that Prodigy is its own thing. Like
Yeah.
that's
We got a
basically
new tier
Senku.
just for
Okay.
Senku.
Just for Senku.
Yeah, this is literally just for Senku. It's like S plus.
He got in a room with somebody and he was like, "Oh, I don't have my own room. What is this?"
yeah. So he's just on another level. So anyway, regarding everyone else, yeah, I could definitely see the argument for S tier with Askeladd. And if not, I don't think I'd put him any lower than A tier. It's so smart, it's stupid. But that's where I'm starting. Now, in terms of why we think he deserves that spot, first of all, I want to know at face value where you guys would place him.
Oh, 100% same thing. Big brain moves
Yeah.
only. Like, I don't think it's actually really a fight where he's going to go.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's definitely big brain.
Okay,
so
so
let me-
now
let me
let's
move him
let's
up.
briefly explain, I guess, in
Yep.
our own way why we believe he deserves it, because anyone watching or listening might not agree with that
No, they can
sentiment.
get bent.
You know, yeah, fair. At the end of the day, get bent. But anyway,
Yeah, no, I just think like again, because we are comparing them to everyone else on this list here. Askeladd has, again, we talked about when we were referencing Kun, characters that are smart enough to be able to play the cards they're dealt, and characters that are smart enough to rearrange the cards in the game. I literally can't think of a better example of somebody that does exactly that than Askeladd. He quite literally takes the cards everyone has dealt and is like, nah, fuck this shit, dude. We're fucking.
Nah,
we're
dude, he is the
re-tracking you."
cards.
Yeah,
Like,
he's the
he's the
dealer.
whole fucking-
He literally
yeah.
goes from like a nigga playing the game to the dealer. Like he literally takes the hands of fate that he and everybody else has dealt and gives everybody a new and better chance at the knowing that his death is going to be a consequential part of that, and is still like, wait though, I can use it. Like,
Yeah.
the man just never stops thinking. There's literally like
True.
a scene in it where he's like, where he fucking opens his gates and fucking gets a Zenkai boost and is like, oh fuck, and does the fucking math thing and like, I don't know. I just can't. Again, when we're talking about like the whole circle of intelligence, right? Emotional intelligence, pure intellect, like strategy, like he has everything figured out. And I think some people would point to, which I don't agree with, and I actually think makes him is a note that makes him even smarter. is like his, I guess the.
Oh, by the way, did we mention there's spoilers in this episode? Just disclaimer now, in case anyone's at this point.
Yikes.
Yeah. And for future reference, any tier list, we're probably going to have spoilers for each respective character. Anyway, go on.
So in the end of Vinland Saga, everybody dies. No, but so yeah. But so for one of the things that I think people would point to for Askeladd to sort of give him as a negative note is the fact that his like emotions to an extent like can be toyed with, and like the things and the values that he holds dear can sort of be used as a tool against him. However, I would argue that he knows that, and that there's a difference between the characters on this list who do and don't know that, and therefore the ones that do know that know eventually that it's just another tool that can be used and put into the equation of figuring out a counter strategy. Askeladd knows that his weaknesses are his mom and his homeland and like the things that he cares about, his people. But he knows that. So he knows that that thing is another variable that can be used in the counter strategy against him, which lets him come up with a counter strategy against that. It's all about like adaptivity. And I think when you're a character who understands all of your inherent flaws and weaknesses, it just becomes another strategy that you can adapt, as opposed to, again, someone like Edward, who I think has inherent weaknesses that he's not fully at grasp with and aware of, and so it's harder for him to come to terms with and grasp those and therefore adapt to them in situations.
Yeah. And I think people don't really realize the veracity of him being able to do that, because we watch so many people where their downfall is when they get caught up in their emotions and they do things that they're not, that we as a viewer say, why are you doing this? Why? Don't get mad. Just keep on fighting. Just do this. Do X, Y, Z things. Don't get caught up in your shit. And honestly, Askeladd was the first character that I've ever seen that, he's human, obviously, and he recognizes when he got caught up because of his facial expressions when they brought up his hometown and his mother. And, he knew that they were going to perceive his facial expressions as him understanding at that moment. And he was always, even when he kind of stumbled a little bit, he was always thinking in the future, and that is not anything that I've ever seen in any sort of antagonist or character. Usually they double down on the fact that they're lost in their emotions and that they're just going to crumble, like literally self-destruct right in front of everybody. And even him use that form of self-destruction as a legit strategy to then forward his plan that he was trying to get through with, on the fly. And it worked beautifully. And I have never seen a character able to adapt to his own emotions in a way that not only logistically made sense, but was honestly batshit fucking crazy. Like when that whole scene ended, I was
I'm not like a vocal dude when I watch anime, but when he fucking whipped that king's head off, bro, I literally stood up and screamed because I was like, "This nigga's crazy, bro!" Like, what the
you would have never thought. Like, you're like, all right, he's gonna like do something crazy, but like just that whole scene of events was just like honestly insane. But what solidified it to me as just being a great show, that they were able to develop this character in this way, even from the first time we met him when the Yomes Vikings were introduced.
Yep.
And he's sitting down having that meeting, dude. And then all of a sudden a fucking spear comes across the fucking room and then goes into the wall, and you're just like, what was that? Like, that was out of nowhere. And then just the soldier just falls down, and he's like, yeah, and he used that as like an interrogating piece where he's like, I know you're trying to ice me, so you better give me what I want because I'm onto you. And that guy was like, oh shit,
he knows a line
smart.
In the middle of the show when he's talking to, I believe it's his uncle. Everyone's a slave to something, and like that is I think the cornerstone of his character and how he utilizes intelligence. He's not someone like Thor's, who I think is very intelligent, but has a little bit too much of an honor code that actually prohibits him from utilizing that intellect because it doesn't allow him to come up with counter strategies that would be quote unquote dishonorable or not the appropriate action to take in combat. Askeladd is going to do whatever it takes to win. And sometimes that's not the honorable thing. Sometimes it's not standing in front of a man and attacking him. Sometimes it's getting 50 niggas behind him to rain down arrows on him. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's throwing a spear into the fucking, room to kill the guy that is hot. You know what I mean? But it's because he understands how people work. Exactly. And that is such a, like, of all the people on this list, I would think, other than Senku, obviously, I would go, yeah, that dude's really smart, but Askeladd, I'm like, that nigga's just plain smart.
And I think for me, a lot of what puts him to the top is his overwhelming amount of emotional intelligence. Oh, yeah. Because, again, as these guys have said, no other character on this list that I can see is able to use people at such an efficient rate that Askeladd is, and use them exactly how he needs them to be used. He knows exactly what everyone's motivations are. He knows exactly how to exploit them, and he knows exactly how to worm his way out of any situation based off humans and their tendency to lean towards certain emotions. Right. I had not seen a character that has been able to compare to him on an emotional intelligence level to do that. Like, if you ask Askeladd just like straight facts, what's 9 times 9 or whatever, you know what I mean? Like Askeladd is, you know, especially because of the time period he's in, and this takes place in like actual history, not to say that they didn't know, but it's like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not the point. This isn't like an IQ test to be like, okay, give us these random facts. It's like Askeladd just understands people, you know, on a level that like nobody else I've seen can. I think that's what just makes him.
It's big. It's big to say that he's charming. A lot of the people on this list who understand emotional intelligence understand like the phrase of like, you get more with honey than vinegar, right? It's that using like seduction and charm is a strategy in itself, you know, and those that can apply that always end up a leg ahead of everybody.
Yep. He's incredible. And then just to end off my point there with emotional intelligence, as you were saying before, Isaiah, it's like he's so emotionally intelligent and understands people so well, but also understands and is so honest with himself. And I think that's it really puts the cherry on top for him in emotional intelligence, in that in the end, he knows that, you know what I mean, like what his weaknesses are and where they lie, and is able to kind of use those and convert those into a driving force in order to like progress him to the next level, even when his back was pushed up totally against the wall. And he knew exactly at that moment how to pivot them instead of just giving into them and letting them crush him with their weight. So yeah, absolutely. I think he deserves S tier spot, and hashtag Askeladd got robbed. Anyway, so moving on. And again, if you just decide to boot up this podcast midway through or something like that, this is not Levi. I mean, I doubt anyone does that, but just in case, this next one is not Levi. This is going to be Armin from Attack on Titan. Just a little technical difficulties with switching the picture here, but anyway, that's who we'll be referring to with this photo. So Armin from Attack on Titan. I want to, okay, what I'm leaning towards here with Armin is so smart it's stupid. Out of the tiers on this list.
I was thinking more street smart.
So was I.
Really? Yeah. Okay.
Again, I think it's pure experience, and like it's almost, it's that treatment to where eventually he could live up to like a higher expectation. It's just at this point now in his development where it's like he's almost there, but he hasn't like broken through that glass ceiling that'll really set him apart.
I feel like with him, something that comes to mind is the Titan serum scene from season 3, where it's like, I don't think he would have been able to make that call in the stage he is now, and I think that's a very important denotion of of intelligence, especially again when we're talking about characters that don't just have to be like your lights, you know, or your Normans, but characters that have to fight, because strategical strategy is literally woven into all their characters. They have to not only think, but be able to think and fight. And I think making those kinds of like calls in the battlefield is not something that Armin now would be able to do.
What specifically are you talking about? What call would he be able to make?
Like the Titan serum, where they had to pick one person, and everybody was like, "Oh, pick this person, pick this person." I don't think he would have been able to decide like which to pick somebody to die.
Oh, like decisiveness?
Yeah. Okay. Like even Erwin was like, "No, don't give it to me."
Really? Yeah. I don't know. I think there's a little more to it than that, because I think the fact that he was able to decisively decide that he was going to sacrifice himself and have that plan lets me in on the fact that he has resolve.
That's more about desperation. Like if he didn't do that, there was no other way they were going to win.
Yeah, but yeah, to be fair, I mean, I don't know.
Well,
I think
what I have to say about it is, at the end of the day, he really got brought back, not for say because of his knowledge, because to be honest, that was the whole crux was Erwin. I don't know why I just got confused with their names. Erwin was actually smarter at that point. However, it is very apparent to us as viewers. We know that eventually he has that latent ability to not only fill up his shoes but surpass it. However, at the point in the show that we are at right now, he has yet to do that. You know he is going to. He's obviously in control of the core, and you know he's going to keep on moving forward and do like amazing feats and do cool stuff. It's just season 4 needs to fucking come right now so we can get to that point, and like see him in his full grown fruition.
But. No, that's fair. I guess I'm comparing him again. Maybe I made the mistake of comparing him to people within the confines of the show, and I keep on making that same mistake. So I immediately am like, okay, because Armin, like actually plays a major role in a lot of their military's plans, even at the age that he is, right? Where it's like, yeah, because like the experience argument is like there, but at the same time, it's like he's kind of already in it, right? It's like they kind of already throw him in it. They're like, make this plan for us,
but
on the fly, on the field,
does,
right?
But he's not like, there's a difference between him doing it, but him having not only the confidence, which he is lacking, and it is known that he's lacking, but he is getting thrown into it and is making decisions. However, they aren't always the right decision, and
they're also not decisions that control the course of the battle. Again, it's kind of similar to Kun
I
here,
disagree.
I
disagree. I think Armin in the show, if we're comparing him to someone like Erwin, if we're talking about experience, I actually think that a lot of the argument that's being purveyed is that Armin at some point is going to be just as smart, and if not smarter. And I actually don't know if that's necessarily the case, that Armin is going to like trump him in actual intelligence, just like flat out. I think what saves Armin in that moment more so than his potential per se of intelligence is his potential to see things in a more, and this is a very like corny way of saying it, but in a more positive light. And like he's able to see the world for like have the potential for something more, but that doesn't necessarily correlate to intelligence. And I think Armin's strength, if we're comparing those two, Armin is, I think, more and has more potential to be a strategic person, like strategy, whereas Erwin, whether he, will be surpassed by Armin in strategy, is definitely an incredible tactician, meaning that he can think of short-term plans on the fly, and I think that's where somewhere where
I
he
completely agree.
him.
The key word in what you said, though, was potential, and that's the thing. I wholeheartedly don't doubt that that's his reason. His outlook on on life. That he might not be intelligent. Then I don't mean that he's going to be smarter in a sense, but he's going to have a style that is much different than Erwin, and potentially better than how he ran things. However, it is all potential at this moment. We have yet to see him execute it properly, and for me, the execution is the most important thing. And obviously, it's got to be somewhat decent, because otherwise we wouldn't have a fucking show. Like, you can have that as a basis, but like at this point, I don't know that potential. I need to see him grow and fill those shoes and really stand up on his own 2 feet.
Yeah,
and it's until I can see that to where I can raise him. It's almost like the Kun treatment and everybody else. It's like, once I see that, then I'm able to do it.
That's fair. I could see putting him street smart. And one thing I have to say, though, is being that we only have one more season, I'm very curious to see if we revisit the subject, where your guys' heads are at after the season. Because, again, spoilers, there is implied that there's a time skip when the 4th season happens. So, he's going to be older. But, like, at the end of the 4th season, or, provided he lives, like, that's the cap of what we're going to see him intelligence-wise. You know what I mean? Like, to be fair.
It's like time skip. Oh, yeah. What happened to Armin? It's like, he died in, like,
so
some
sad.
weird, raid. And you're just
yeah. So I'm curious to see where, where that goes at that point, and like how much different it is from where he is now in season 3. Because even though there's a time skip, if the plans he makes are somewhat similar and they're having the same amount of effectiveness, etc., I think there's an argument to be made that even for the fact that he was young, he was still able to be at almost the same level. Because like there's the experience argument, which I do totally agree with on a lot of points, but there is also something to be said about some people, and just in anime we see this all the time, that almost regardless of their age, they just have like an incredible ability, right? Like we have someone like a Senku who is like not even out of high school, which trumps any of these characters or almost any character I've ever seen ever in intelligence, and it's like he doesn't need experience, like he just has it.
Well,
right?
I think it comes with confidence. Like as he makes because right now when he makes a decision, he second guesses, he triple guesses, he quadruple guesses it, and then once it deals out in a way that isn't favorable for him, he crumbles. And that is like the emotional aspect coming out of it, to where it's like you need to be able to handle the decisions that you're making and be decisive in the fact that in this moment, this is my decision. I'm going to live with the consequence. And he is getting better with it. Don't get me wrong, but he has like history has shown throughout the show where he is very shaky with making decisions.
I think it's very beginning of show. Like I think he's had a lot of character development for like this season in particular. If we're referring to the Colossal Titan fight, I don't even think that's really a valid one, because I think in that moment, like he says, I genuinely don't know, but the fact that he does do that, whether it be desperation or not, shows that he was able to come out on top after that. Yeah. And I think like as compared to something in like the first season where he literally crumbles in fear, which fair enough, there's a fucking Titan in front of you, you know what I mean? And he gets saved by Eren, etc. Then I think that's definitely a valid argument. Well, but I think as where we are right now,
from that one experience, he isn't going to be completely changed for the better in the future. Like, yeah, that's a turning point, but that's not him full grown in fruition. Like, just because he has that one awakening moment, whether desperation, fear, whatever you want to culminate.
Well, I think it's more than just the one, is what I'm saying.
Well,
I think like throughout season 3,
he's just not there yet. He needs.
Yeah, I think I still agree with Gavin, because it's like he doesn't. Right now, even at season 3, like he's not at an Erwin level. And when I say at an Erwin level, I don't mean of pure intellect, but I mean of being able to make a tactical decision and commit to it. I think that there's still too much, regardless how much it's grown, still too much of a level of doubt that would interfere with that, like that decision-making process that separates him from somebody that I would consider in his world to be like, because that's the thing, right? In the world of Attack on Titan, like if you see a Titan in front of you, like your instinct can't be to think, it can't be to crumble, it can't be to like it has to be to act, right? That's the whole difference between somebody like Armin and your Levi's even, or your Erwins, is these leaders, these people who we consider, even like Hanj, if you really want to, like tactical leaders, are the people who act instinctively, right? That's what Armin is lacking still. He has more of it, definitely, than when we started with season 1. But I still just, he doesn't have enough.
And I think the time skip's going to take care of that. I think they're going to come back and it's going to be him in his full grown state, and he's going to be like, whatever we see him at is what he's going to be.
Fair enough.
And then we're going to go from
I guess
there.
we'll find out.
But
All right, so Street Smart is fine. Yeah. So Armin is in Street Smart. Next we have Light Yagami from Death Note. Somebody else put where they're going to put him first, because I always keep on saying it, and I'm curious to see what you guys say at face value. So
with Light, for me, it's a little skewed because I've only read halfway through the manga, so I didn't get to the end. Well, I mean, not really, unfortunately. I know how it's going to end. The show's been out for fucking ever. So I haven't seen for myself how his personality differs from the point that I'm at, because literally where I'm at, he's pretty much like a god at this point. Like, he's just about to defeat L. Like, you know, they're going through all that shit. So I kind of know what's going to happen, and I know his downfalls in the latent part of the show. However, I don't really want to speak to that in terms of this list, because we're doing him as a character, and I don't know like his full fruition and where he turns out. So where I'm at in the show, he's more at like a so smart it's stupid street smart level. Like, those are the two that I can see him at. But I don't know, because if he crumbles to the extent that I heard he does, I feel like it might drop him down a peg. But I don't know if that's just me, like the conjecture, or if you guys agree with that or what. So I'm really curious on people who finished it.
It's interesting because I think he has very similar like character flaws to someone like Edward, but I think the way that he sort of, you know, quote unquote crashes and burns, you know, he has like his Icarus moment, is like the way he has it is an implication. It only happens the way that it happens because he's innately smarter than somebody like Edward. Like, it's almost like
interesting.
Like, so, well, and actually Edward I think is not so good at comparison, because where I think Edward's one of his flaws is that like is quite frankly emotion, right? He's young. He doesn't have a whole grasp on how he feels about things, how he sees the world. Light just quite simply already has sort of like this I don't want to say like predestined, but like he has this already built understanding of the world and is able to use that and play that through the course of the show like a fiddle, basically. But again, that's just it. That also becomes what is his downfall, in that he thinks he's mapped out the entirety of the world and doesn't quite understand just how adaptable it can be. So, gotcha. But I think the only reason he reaches that specific downfall, like that, you can't get to that downfall unless you're this base level of intellect. You know what I mean? Gotcha. So I think off of that, I would put him at somebody, or put him in a tier. I'd probably go so smart it's stupid too, just because like, again, amongst some of these characters, he's definitely one of the most like raw intelligent characters. I mean, the whole course of the show is quite literally him outsmarting and outplanning the entirety of the police force, including L, who we know is like his essential
intellectual rival.
In terms of intelligence, and it's, you know, quite literally just a giant ass game of chess that Light is able to play very, very, very well up until the end, which I think says a lot for his character. And also the fact that, you know, obviously with the exception of what's the god's name? You know, the
Shinigami.
Shinigami. That's just his name.
No, it's
Ryuk.
Ryuk.
There we go. other than the fact that he has Ryuk, who, like, you know, in some way metaphorically is like literally his partner, Light does a lot of his stuff solo, right? He doesn't have a team of people helping him. He doesn't have like a group of allies or whatever to back up, and like he has to cover and compensate for a lot of the weaknesses and shortcomings in his plans by himself. And again, up until the end, pretty much does that flawlessly. I'd probably go so smart it's stupid.
Okay, I could see that.
I actually could argue S tier for Light. I'm gonna be honest with you because I'm relating him to somebody like Askeladd, and I'm not gonna lie, dude. Like, as much as we pump up someone like Askeladd, which by the way I stand by that, I legitimately think that he is. I think he's more intelligent. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Light's more intelligent than Askeladd?
Yes, I do. No. Yeah, I think so. I think that Light. I do 100%.
I can see maybe like the actual intellect behind it because like it's implied that he's book smart, but like from just off of what Isaiah said, even emotionally, where he gets almost too big for his britches.
Because Light is definitely way too cocky, like way too arrogant.
I think, but I don't think that arrogance makes him less intelligent in this argument. And I think that even
it's literally how he gets beaten, though.
Yeah, but just because, but if we're going off of intelligence, even if you get beaten in the end, listen, you got to think, Light is going against from like literally the third episode, roughly in this show, literally has to compete with the smartest minds of the world, of planet Earth. He is literally against in a mental chess match against not only the entire police force, detectives, but literally people that are trained since childbirth in this art and how to be the most intelligent people on the face of the planet, and not only goes toe-to-toe with them, but is able to beat them in many ways. And he is like outnumbered to the fucking teeth, dude. Like everyone is against him, that, you know what I mean, in the sense of like, you know, trying to catch him, and he's able to fucking evade that on just such a level that I've never seen before. It's actually incredible what he's able to do. I think that he also has a great mastery over people and is able to manipulate them, and much more of a manipulation thing, but like even on the level of Askeladd, where he is able to play with the emotions of people, which he does in the show flawlessly, you know, up until the very end, because he has to be beat. But at that point, he's going against literally like, at that point, he literally burned through like fucking 3 of like the ultimate, you know, detectives, like in intellectual level, and then has to contend with literally like everyone at the upper echelon, like the entirety of the show. Like, I think it's only a matter of time, regardless of how intelligent you are, unless you're someone like a, you know what I mean, like a Senku.
That's just the
you know
thing,
what I mean?
Though, is I don't think he had to be beat. I think if Light managed to keep his head and his arrogance didn't get the better of him, he would not have lost the way he did and when he did. I think that is my point here. And when I say that somebody like Askeladd taking that weakness and using it as a strength to further his plan, to whereas Light, it was inevitably just his end because he couldn't see past that God complex.
Yeah, but the thing with Askeladd is that he just because he used that weakness to I wouldn't say he used that to necessarily further his plan. When we see, spoiler alert, when we see Askeladd get caught, he gets caught in that moment. He doesn't do that with the intention of being caught and then using that to further the plan, like that was the plan all along. In Askeladd's mind, he was under the assumption that he's like, I got this. Again, a bit of arrogance. I'm going to be able to sway this exactly how I want. I've won. And it wasn't until the king said, and then we're going for whales. Intentionally, because he was told that he had a soft spot for that Askeladd broke. And it was when Askeladd broke and was found out that he realized that he had to, almost out of an act of desperation, use that already exploited weakness to try and pivot the plan into something else. He essentially, in that moment, was beaten. He was beaten. Yes, but he just did what he could have.
But hold on, but I think you're really downplaying that adaptability, because even
I'm not.
though,
no. I'm saying that's the whole point of what's intelligent.
But what I'm getting at, even though it went against the current, he still took logistically the best way out that he could find feasible, and which literally included sacrificing his own life.
Yeah,
which I would say does sound above.
But I'm saying that. But
aspect,
nobody's denying that. I was just saying, like, I think that's great that he uses that to his advantage. I'm going to say that he uses that to pivot in that moment. He uses that. He takes a terrible.
All he could have done.
That's what I get it. But the point is that if we're talking about somebody being beat, Askeladd was beat in that moment.
But the thing is,
he won
able
the
to
long game. If he took that weakness
Exactly.
and adapted it into a strength that ultimately made his side win, that's a victory in the long game to where Light just straight lost.
I agree with that.
Yeah, but
straight got beat.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like at the end of the day, sure he took that lick and was able to try and pivot into something, but at the end of the road, like his goal was to do this and be a part of it all, and he couldn't do that. He goes out at the last second. Yeah. Like Light still has like contingency upon contingency upon contingency plan and uses it. It's just that it's literally everyone.
Because Askeladd, even after his death, has a whole group of people that are going to taking his side and going to fight and do things in his stead. That's what the plan involved. Everybody, everything stopped with Light. When he lost,
can you actually get a little bit closer to your mic?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm barely picking up.
There is no contingency. Like Light lost, and that's it. Everything is dead and gone. Everything stops. They won. He lost. Like dead in center, and it's all because
I think his motivations though at that point, right? I don't think that's a fair argument because I think Light in this show is strictly out for himself. There is no one that he gives a shit about, not a single life that he cares about. So when he is beaten, there is nothing else to fight for. I think Askeladd, and the difference between him is that because Askeladd is a little less of a psychopath, less than a psychopath than Light, and cares about things that are beyond himself, he's willing to sacrifice himself and make that sacrifice in terms of what he believes is the greater good. So if we had taken Askeladd and he was just as selfish as Light in that moment, because Light's only goal is to survive. That's it. He's like, I have to live and one up everyone because I deserve this. I'm a god. Whereas Askeladd was like, fuck, I'm beat. I'm in the same exact scenario, but I'm willing right now to let other people continue this thing because I care about whales. I care about my people. But like, I don't think that makes him more intelligent. I think that he just, because of his motivations and what he was faced with in that moment, he made the best that he could out of it. But I think if we're taking someone like Light and we put him in Askeladd's shoes and Light maybe had something else to fight for or something else to like provide some sort of like thing, some sort of legacy or whatever, protect a certain people, I think that he absolutely would have been able to achieve that like leagues ahead of where it was. I think it's just that Light, because of his selfishness, is like there really is nothing else to fight for. So of course, as soon as he gets beat, that's the end. That's part of what I'm talking about,
because that's part of his character, right? Yes, if Light was more like Askeladd, he'd probably be different or better, but he's not. Light is selfish, and that's inherently a character flaw.
Sure, but I think on a tier list, of ranking intelligence, that it doesn't matter that he's crazy and that's his motivation or not, or that's Askeladd. I don't think that makes Askeladd smarter just because he has a different motivation.
I think it does, because I think if Light was more selfless, he'd be able to rely on people and thus might have been able to get out of situations or lean on somebody, or at the very least, have somebody carry on his motives after he would fail, as opposed to when he dies, it's just it, because he has nobody on his side. He has nobody to turn to. Like, that's part of the game here, is that when Askeladd's gone, that's not it. The plan's not done. There's people that are going to carry on his mission in his stead. There is nobody for Light.
But that's what I'm saying. That's Light's mission, is him, right? Like, if Askeladd's mission was, I'm the mission solely, then Askeladd would have lost right then and there the same exact way. It's because Askeladd... Saying, like,
what if, though? We're talking about the characters as they are.
But I'm not. What do you mean? Well, what I'm saying is, you're saying that it makes Askeladd more intelligent because there were people to carry on what his dream was. But his dream is something totally different.
He was able to inspire those people too, though.
Yeah, but there's no one that Light in this context is trying to inspire. It's all about himself.
Right, and that's his fault, though.
But I'm saying that's not a way to rank intelligence. Just if you're selfish or not, you could be, right? If we take someone like Senku.
Well, if you think about it logistically, the more intelligent thing, I would think, rather than carry on a plan by yourself, especially if your plan is to control the world, you'd probably want more than just you in charge of it. Because if you fail, that's it, you're done. But if you have other people that are willing to carry on in your stead, it becomes an ideal and it outlives you. Your plan succeeds.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think again, going back to the argument with Light, you being able to use people like Askeladd, I think for what Light's goals are, I think that he uses those people to the same amount, if not more effectiveness than Askeladd does. I just think in the end game that because Askeladd has a different goal, like a different goal that transcends himself and doesn't regard himself as like God, it's whales, that he's able to use that situation in the moment. But I still think that Askeladd, like Light, was was beaten in that moment by the king. And I think Light had to go up against way more intellectual giants than Askeladd did throughout the course of that show. I feel like Askeladd, everyone, even from the start, was always like almost a peg under him. And it wasn't until, and when he got to that level where it was like people that were on the same level as him, it didn't take nearly as long for them to crack him. Whereas Light, from literally the start to end of the story, is going against the most intelligent people on planet Earth.
Yeah, but I think you're conflating the times there, because don't forget, Askeladd, he was quite literally going against the Jomsvikings and all these people that were like, he was literally running his own ship around literal kingdoms and royalty of people that were at that world in the highest degree. And the reason why that they looked so much more unintelligent to him, other than the king that he meets, is because he's that much further in terms of intellect than everybody else. Anybody who comes in contact with, no matter how smart they were, literally the commander of all these armies would come up to him and he would make them look like a complete incompetent idiot. And that is just because of how he carried himself in his conversations. And that's the thing where you look at it in Light, in his world, yes, he was going around all these powerhouses and the technology was more advanced, so it's going to look more intellectual because it's that literal change in time period. However, if you're looking back at just Askeladd in his world, he was literally going against actual kingdoms and still pulling the strings underneath them in terms of getting his plan and continuing it through Canute. And for me, that is just honestly just as smart than, you know, a different time period with Light, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I guess. But I mean, like, with that argument, sure, you could say that, okay, I don't know if kingdoms are really the way to put it. Like there's really
the singular
two
kingdom.
Yeah,
well,
but it's relevant.
Sides,
it is relevant, right? Because it's like if we're talking that, like, he technically does lose if we're talking in terms of just himself to that king, in a sense. Like, he at least makes it a draw if we're talking about who's dead and who's alive.
Well,
right?
no, because then he leaves Canute in his stead.
No, I get it. I'm just saying, in terms of intelligence, the king was able to figure out what his weakness was and exploit it. That's it. That's all I'm saying. He was able to do that. I'm just saying,
I don't really
Light.
agree to it, though. I don't agree to that statement.
But he does.
All right.
I don't think so.
I think though.
No.
Either way,
He doesn't really, though.
where would you put him, Gavin?
Me, I wouldn't go less than So Smart It's Stupid. Or I mean, for Light, my God, I would go So Smart It's Stupid personally for him. That's where I would go.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, I'm going to save everyone the trouble, though, and use a token on him in S, because I am willing to die on that one. I really do think that he is like an intellectual giant, to be fair. So that's where I'm putting him. But anyway, moving on. We have Norman from The Promised Neverland. So I'm gonna outright say it. I think Norman is gonna be on what does IQ mean? If we're ranking him to the rest of these characters, especially if we're going off the argument of experience, being that he is quite literally the youngest within all of this. Now, we haven't had quite a lot of time with him within the show, the confines of the show. It's been, this first season, like 10, 12 episodes, something like that. But I just think, even in respect to his world, he's working with the tools that he can, and I think he's a great long-term strategist. But I do think that there are people that do have a bit of a deeper understanding than him, like on a much higher level. But he's able to use people around him, and not use or manipulate, but like genuinely garner, you know what I mean, their help and their passionate support to help him. But I do have to say, if we're ranking him amongst people on this list, that's my personal take, is I think that's where he would belong. That's just me.
I would also, I would have to say, yeah, what does IQ mean? And I think it's almost like...
So would I.
You would too?
Yep.
Okay. So it's it's almost like the Armin treatment, like you just said. It's experience.
He's kind of the definition of the people in this list of like too young to know.
Young to know. And he's definitely a prodigy.
Up against so little that like, compared to everybody on this list, you can't even grade him accurately, you know?
Yeah. Now, to be fair, I mean, like, for his age and everything that he's done, again, he's made it to the 8 people on here. Yeah. He is forced to be reckoned with, and I'm very curious to see if he's still like around, and like what he's going to be able to do, if there was more behind the scenes that we're not aware of. But he is at the inherent disadvantage of the fact that the show centralizes around children. You know what I mean? And they never see adulthood. So it's a little hard if we're using that argument, you know what I mean, for him to see his full potential there. But I think he has the opportunity to probably surpass some of these people. And he's like almost like a sleeping giant in a sense, where it's like, look at him. He looks so damn unassuming, but I'm telling you, there's a big brain in that kid's head.
It is a big brain.
Yeah. So anyway, now we come to our last guy, and probably a fan favorite here. We have Shikamaru from Naruto and Naruto Shippuden. Obviously, I would assume we're referring to Shikamaru because we've seen literally his whole life. Would we be referring to his oldest state right now, which would be like, I guess, Boruto?
In that state right there.
Okay, so Shippuden?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So looking at him in the confines of Shippuden. So anyway, with that being said, I would probably rank him somewhere around like so smart it's stupid.
That's exactly where I was going. And
Yeah.
I love this man. I fully agree. So it's stupid for me, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, if
Well,
I
you
was
love him.
like,
What's your reason? Like, what do you think? Why?
For me, he was one of. It's hard to say relatable, but I don't know. I feel
a little bit.
a little bit. Yeah, I mean, a little bit. But like, he was one of the most interesting characters for me because he is such a sleeper. You know, literally, he doesn't want to do anything. Everything's a struggle, but it's because he has that intelligence and that kind of dedication and loyalty to his friends that is what awakens him to then make decisions and move forward. And his strategic mind, like, from the beginning that he has a brain for strategy and movements and making hard decisions and all these things. And he takes it from his father, who plays a very intricate role in this story, and again is a sleeper of intelligence, literally the backbone of the Leaf Village. And you know, I mean, if we're not playing that role, like, eventually Shikamaru again becomes that backbone like his father. But if we're not referring to that, I still think in terms of his mental state that he has just always been top tier, especially in the Naruto realm.
So I think I would probably go with so smart it's stupid. But what's weird about Shikamaru, and this is purely because of the context of the world that Boruto is, by the time, like, you know, he's in it, is that, like, I could actually see an argument for this Shikamaru ending up in S tier and his older version ending up in A tier. And because I think, weirdly enough, with some of the characters in Boruto that are from Naruto, there's actually somewhat of like a tipping edge that happens, right? Where they go up this hill and then they peak. And actually, in Boruto, they are not necessarily just a steady decline, but are definitely lower than their peak. And I could definitely see an argument for Shikamaru ending up in that aspect, only because the world of Boruto, quite simply, like, outclasses him, right? I mean, it outclasses most people that aren't Naruto and Sasuke, or like Kawaki and Boruto and gang, where it's like Shikamaru. I mean, like, because we've read the manga. I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with it lately. But like there's just this idea and there's this understanding, at least to me, that like in that world, Shikamaru has definitely reached his peak already, right? That like his ability and his tenacity, let's say, or his ability to understand and adapt like technical situations is just outclassed by the mere fact that like he can't. There are strategies and possibilities that literally couldn't even like enter his brain. Like, you couldn't even put into an equation because he doesn't know they exist. And so it's like, it feels like unfair to denote him from that. But at the same time, it is like something that like Naruto or Sasuke could come up with. But it's like because they know it, where it's like in Shippuden, he does actually have all the cards. Like all his strategies, everything he's able to plan and encompass and counter with, like does exist and is feasible in the world because he has all the cards. So it's weird that I would be saying like to denote him, because it's essentially denoting him because he doesn't have all the cards to work with. But it's like, it does ultimately make his plans less effective than they were in like the later half of Shippuden. You know, albeit as unfair of a reason as it is. But for like what we're doing now, I would also put him in this Shikamaru in So Smart and Stupid.
Yeah, and it's hard because his personality is definitely different from like an Askeladd or a Light, in terms of he's not very not only manipulative of people, he's to himself. He's very independent. He's a free thinker. You know, he goes his own path.
I would say that he's actually the opposite of like a Light and Askeladd, in a sense that he definitely inspires followers and he inspires like people to follow him as a leader, but it's not through manipulation. Like,
exactly.
I think he's one of the examples of like a genuine leader that has this sort of like almost like Thor's comes to mind, like this Thor's-esque honor quality of like being good and true to your comrades, that makes people want to follow him, like just out of that earnest and just out of that like honesty.
Yeah, I have to say, I was watching the scene the other day. It was like popped on Facebook or something where Asuma Sensei died,
Don't even
and
fucking-
Shikamaru's with his yeah right, and Shikamaru's with his father playing shogi.
Actually,
And then
I
he's
saw
just
that
like
too.
this. I think I posted it,
Yeah,
and then
that's
like
probably
this,
why.
and then he's like, he
even.
says, and he's like, he
Stop.
flips the fucking
No.
table, and he's like, let it out or whatever, and then he fucking just balls his eyes out, dude. Oh my god, that was.
Or how about like when his dad dies and he gets what can only be described as like 2 minutes to say goodbye to him, and he can't really even process it because he's in the middle of a fucking war,
dude.
And it's like, yeah, this man, he's been put through the ringer, but it's like, again, through all those things, actually the one scene that always comes to my mind when I'm talking about Shikamaru is the Sasuke retrieval mission, because it's the first time he's put in a leadership mission, and for all intents and purposes, he does not succeed. He does not do what he sets out to do, which is A, the literal mission of bringing Sasuke back, but B, almost his entire team almost dies. Every single one single-handedly is almost killed. And we know in the world of Naruto, and I guess pretty much in any world that has a militaristic setting, that's on him. If you're the leader of a squad and your whole squad almost gets wiped out, he's the one that made those plays. He's the one that they all had to check with, and he has that moment where I think I don't know if it's like Tsunade necessarily. He's talking to somebody, but he's like, I don't know if I'm cut out for this. Like, this is too big. Like, these people almost died, and they're like, Shikamaru, that's the gig. Like that. This is what it means to be a ninja. This is what it means to be a leader. And I think that notion is something that you see him carry, struggle with, but overcome through the course of the beginning of Shippuden all the way to the end of the Fourth Great Ninja War. And it's an example of why he makes such a great leader. And I think, because I think with Shikamaru, like arguing about his intelligence is like, to be honest, irrelevant. We know that he's smart. It is literally a character trait for him in the show that he's leagues just straight IQ level above anybody else, right? That's the thing. He's smart, but he doesn't apply himself. But it's exactly that. It's, again, that character flaw that he learns to adapt with and he learns to compensate with his comrades. And it's through such an earnest and honest method as opposed to the more manipulative Kuns and Askelads and Lights that just fucking earns respect.
Yeah.
Much respect. That's why he's my favorite fucking character in the whole show.
I believe it.
Really is.
All right, so we come to the end here, and if I'm not mistaken, Gavin, you have not used a token yet.
I have not either.
Yes. So now, speak now, forever hold your peace. And you don't have to. I think one of the ones I didn't use one because honestly, we were pretty much in agreement. But if you do genuinely believe that one of these characters, minus Light or Kun, deserves a spot that is other than where they are currently, let us know.
No, I actually think it stands on its own where everybody's at. I don't really have any complaints with it, to be honest. I mean, Shikamaru is obviously going to go in Prodigy. I'll just go there now. But honest, I'd keep it where it's at. I like it. I think it looks
it's
pretty.
so funny because I feel like if anybody ever actually wants to use a token, they'll use it before the end. Like if we get to the end, whoever hasn't,
Because
like,
it's whoever's losing.
yeah,
It's whoever's losing their point in the argument. And they're like, "Fuck you! I don't care if I'm losing. I'm a win in the end."
That's fair.
Well, if
That's pretty much what we did. I mean,
Well, Kun was strictly looks, I think.
No, I'm saying
Kun's sexy.
like I was losing the argument, so I'm like, no, Kun's an S because he's fucking beautiful, and you were losing, so you're like, Light's an S. Like, yeah, if you're anybody who's losing, it's like, no, I'm using my token.
Yeah.
I'm using my trap card.
That's exactly what it is.
Well, I don't think it.
No, that's exactly what it is.
No, I don't think it's necessarily like lose, like because I don't really think there are really winners, right? Because it's really conjecture and opinion. It's just like there's a majority rule, so I guess you consider that like a loss, that two people as compared to the one. But you know what I mean? Like I don't want to make it seem like we're out here like fucking being like
You're out
trying
here
to prove
losing,
each other
I'm
or
just
whatever.
fucking with
But
you. I'm literally just
whatever.
fucking with you. Yeah.
Anyway, so this is the list. At the top, we have our own, or actually bottom up. So what does IQ mean? That is C tier. We have Norman from The Promised Neverland. We have Street Smart for B tier, which is going to consist of Armin from Attack on Titan and Edward Elric from Full Metal Alchemist. So Smart It's Stupid is A tier, and we have Shikamaru from Naruto Shippuden. We have Big Brain Moves Only, which is S tier. We have Kun, which Isaiah used his token on. We have Askeladd, which was all in agreement from Vinland Saga. And we have Light Yagami, which I used my token on from Death Note. And then at the very top, we have Prodigy, which is Senku from Dr. Stone, because he's just ridiculous. So anyway, that's our tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope you guys enjoy our banter and our arguments because these things almost ruin friendships.
No, they don't. So we all hug each other at the end.
Hopefully putting our friendship on the line for your expense is worth it in the grand scheme of things. No, honestly, though, we have a lot of fun doing these. These are a blast to do. So thank you so much for hopping on. Again, let us know in the comments below what you thought of our tier list. If you agree, you disagree, and why, and where you would put some of these characters, what characters you think have honorable mentions, and what other tier list ideas that you would suggest that we could try in the future. But yeah, until next time, folks, thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you all next time. Peace.
Peace.
Hey, folks. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our new episodes.
You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at AoA Podcast if you want to keep up with our content or suggest new ideas for the show.
You can watch us on YouTube or listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, or more. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week to talk about all things anime.